What you are listening to now is the Central Indiana Sports Report podcast number 347.2. The Fever Report with our Fever guy John Robertson and Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader sports editor Michelle Garmon. We were joined once again by our resident WNBA insider Mike Hutsell, who helped us break down Thursday's loss to the LA Sparks, who they just can't seem to beat. Also, a little Caitlin Clark news, a look ahead in the schedule as the road trip comes to an end this weekend, and we're all disappointed in the continued toy throwing. Just stop it, it's not funny.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Welcome, Fever fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report and the Fever Report with the Fever on the West Coast. I've decided what we're going to do is just talk the next day because I am not staying up late. I don't even stay up late for the Pacers when they're on the West Coast. So we'll talk about the Fever the next day, maybe a couple of days after, depending on what happens. And what happened yesterday, John, was a loss to the Los Angeles Sparks, who are the Fever's kryptonite.
Yeah, I pretty much called this one a couple days ago. I told you I didn't think
I did not.
I think it's a matchup issue. I think the size that LA has gives us a lot of trouble. I think that it really is a problem because we have AB and Tosh, but you've got so much length on the Sparks that it just really gives. And let's talk about Kelsey Plum just going off like she went. But really, for the most part, I think it's a matchup problem on size. But then when you've got that combined with the Sparks just hitting everything, you're not going to beat that team.
They're a good team, and they do give the Fever matchup fits with that length and everything. And, the play of Rakea Jackson she had a really good game. And she's a tough guard because she can do so much with the basketball. I mean, I think that's it. They don't just have length, but they have length. Their players can go outside and play beyond the 3-point line. Some of their bigs can drive to the hole. It's just it's hard to be able to guard them, I think, man to man to match that length and stuff.
Rakea Jackson's who we wanted Miles Turner to be. She's literally who we wanted him to be as far as like comparison wise, because she's big, can play in the paint, but she can really play well and drive all over. Yeah, she's had a good night too.
Similar to Atlanta, I think, a matchup, a difficulty that probably shouldn't be for the Fever. They're more talented than those teams, but they can't seem to beat them.
Yeah, and Hutsell, your favorite, Cameron Brink, she's struggling on the offensive end coming back in, but her defense is still really, really good.
Defense was really good last night.
She can do a lot of things to impact a game without scoring. And, I mean, you guys hit it on the head. She is just a force. I mean, she's 6'3", 6'4", and she's all arms and legs. And just that type of presence inside, her minutes are only going to go up. And, talent-wise, you guys talk about that. The Sparks have, I think Brink was the number 2 or 3 pick in the draft. Rakea Jackson was the 4th pick in the draft. Kelsey Plum is obviously one of the great players collegiately of all time and has carried that over into the pros.
I'll give you that, Mike, but the first 2 times they played, Brink did not play, and the Sparks still beat him twice. And once they were without somebody else, and they still beat him.
But that team is, I mean, Dearica Hamby, she's a 3-on-3 gold medalist in the Olympic Games. I mean, there's not a lack of talent on the Sparks roster.
Good point.
Well, and I thought it was really fun. I looked at the WNBA's, they put out an article of power rankings, and they said all positive things, and they said that the Sparks were on a 4 out of 5 win streak or whatever, and they dropped them a point, or they dropped them a ranking down to like 11th or 12th. And I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. So I think the Sparks are stronger than people are giving them credit for. I do think they're specifically a matchup problem for the Fever, but I think that they're a stronger team than most people are giving them credit for right now.
Well, if Brink's blocking 5 shots a night, they're going to be awfully tough.
She blocked 5 shots in limited minutes.
Let's be realistic here. I mean, they played really, really well without her since the break, but at some point, not having Caitlin is going to catch up with Indiana. And last night they needed offensive firepower and a game that was very high scoring, and not having her was an impact. So I don't think it's a long season. You're not going to win every game. I don't think that was a necessarily bad loss by any
We don't
stretch.
want. I will say that we don't want to see LA in the playoffs, though. Like, I will go on
Sure
record
seems
saying
like it.
we do not want to see LA in the playoffs.
I can see that. I think the Sparks, what they do this year is just a positive because I think they're one more guard away from being a dangerous team next season.
I think they're dangerous now.
Dangerous is being title contender dangerous, and I don't think they're title contenders right now.
Speaking of offensive firepower, Kelsey Mitchell, 34 points last night on just 19 field goal attempts because she was 7 for 12 from behind the three-point line and 5 for 5 from the line. Also 6 assists. Again, the Fever lost, but 23 assists on 34 field goals. And when you throw Caitlin Clark back into the equation, that's probably going to be an answer that you like.
The first quarter was basically just an offensive exposition. Everybody was just making everything. Second quarter, Fever got down by about 10 or 11. And then third quarter, they would just let themselves get even farther in the hole. They were down by like 19 or more at one point. And then fourth quarter, they played really well. It's just when teams are playing that well, you can't give up 2 quarters of just barely hanging in.
The Fever were playing great towards over that final 4 minutes of the game. I mean,
they got it within
they
6
really
at one
turned it on.
point.
Yeah,
they got it to within 6, and they had a shot. There's a couple people said that there's some silly calls, but I'm not even going to discuss it because, you shouldn't even be in that position where you're down that far. So, like, the Fever had a shot, but, like, they let themselves get way too far out of it. They really do remind me of the Pacers. The Fever and the Pacers just remind me of each other so much, just the way
Both
they
teams
play.
have done a lot of that, that's for sure.
Yeah, they just let themselves get in a hole, and then you play great, but you're not going to get out of it. What's up with Chloe Bibby only playing for 257 last night? You guys got thoughts on that?
I find that strange. I saw a tweet today that somebody said, oh, you signed Chloe Bibby for the rest of the season only to take her out of your rotation. What's up with that? Because I thought she might be one of the answers against the Sparks just because she's another player that's outside. She's got some size, and if you draw, she would take a defender out there, which maybe then allows Ari or Colson, or Sophie or somebody just to drive, probably less Sophie, but to drive to the rim. I mean, I was kind of shocked she did not play more. Actually, I was kind of shocked the bench as a whole didn't log some more minutes.
Yes, their bench was a non-factor last night. Lexi didn't add anything offensively.
She didn't really add a whole lot. I mean, you guys know I love her, but she didn't add a whole lot on defense. She got beat pretty bad last night on a lot of plays, uncharacteristically. But if we're gonna shout her out when she does well, we have to admit when she didn't play great. So,
all right. So rear view mirror on the Sparks until August 29th when they play them for a fourth time. But last game of the road trip later today. 10 o'clock, Prime Video in Phoenix. They just beat Phoenix less than 2 weeks ago. But that was at home. Pretty good team. Another big challenge before coming home for 3 straight games against Chicago, Dallas, and Washington. 3 games they should win with or without.
Yeah, I think the Phoenix game will be interesting to see what happens. I think there's emotions on both sides of that game. I think matchup-wise,
might be worth staying up late for.
Oh, I'll stay up and watch it. I stayed up and watched all the Sparks game, but I went to bed right as soon as it was over. I'll watch the Phoenix game. I think they're an evenly matched team. It could go either way. You might give a slight nod to Phoenix just because they're at home and they're not on a long road trip.
John, give us the latest that you know on Caitlin Clark.
Nothing specific or like hard news other than I've seen her in some videos actually working out with the team. So in practice, I don't know how much she's working out, but if you watch the team's videos, you can see her on the court doing a little bit of practicing. I say 2 more weeks. That's my guess. End of August is my guess.
Yeah,
It's a big deal, not just for the Fever, but for the WNBA.
Yeah, the conspiracy theories are out there that she's done for the season, and the WNBA just won't let them say it because they want to keep selling tickets and keep people watching. I think it's a reasonable conspiracy theory if you're going to have one, but I do think she plays in August.
I think she comes back and I think she plays. Like I said, you just wonder if they just aren't, they're going to be extra cautious with her, because what you don't want is her to come back and tear it, because, that's a major thing. If she would end up a quad or a hamstring, then she's like Tyrese Halliburton. She's out for a year. And so I think they're thinking, well, let's get her ready, condense her season down for the playoffs. Maybe the last week or two of the regular season, and have her ready for the playoffs. And it's a short season, and then,
Makes sense.
Greg, you are right. My sister and I were talking about this the other day. They need to make sure. I know they spent a lot of time getting her in the weight room and strengthening her, bulking her up a little bit. But they really need to get her on a stretching program and a core strengthening program.
Yes, every player needs to. It's not just a Caitlin thing. Let's move to a little bit of WNBA news, and it seems like if there is a player who might be out long term, it might be Nafisa Collier from Minnesota. It looks like that injury might be pretty bad, John. She's out how long, and what do we know?
The report that I saw today said a minimum of 2 weeks. So she's out for a minimum of 2 weeks. I didn't line that up to see if that affects the Fever's games versus the Lynx, but that's a huge, huge impact for that team. I mean, she probably is the MVP candidate up to this point.
2 weeks from tomorrow is the first game they play against Minnesota, and then the following 2 days later.
So best case scenario that she could play both. Likely scenario she plays one of the two.
Likely scenario she's not playing that game.
None of them. You don't think either one?
Out.
Minimum 2 weeks means at least 3. I'm guessing.
Yeah, and you know what? Here's the thing: they have that 5-game lead over the Liberty for number 1 seed. I think that as long as that doesn't become in jeopardy, they are not going to rush her back, because they're going to want to win the title, and rushing her back could lead to a setback. So I kind of think it's kind of like Clark a little bit. You're not going to rush Nafisa Collier back just for the regular season.
A Collier-less Lynx team makes the Fever schedule down the stretch pretty manageable.
They picked up Dejanay Carrington supposedly to help fill that space, but she's no fee. Nobody is really.
It'll help long term, I'm sure.
There's still a decent squad, but I definitely think it improves Indiana's chances by a lot. Along the same lines, Angel Reese has missed like 5 games now for back. Do you think that the Chicago is shutting it down and tanking for a good draft position?
Yes.
I think so too.
They have the lottery just like the NBA, right? So, I mean, they can.
No, I think that if you have the worst schedule record, you get the first pick.
No.
That's
they
what
have
happened
a
to the
lottery
Fever,
too.
right?
Because that's how the Fever got it back to back. Because they did not have the worst record when they got Caitlin. They did when they drafted Boston, but I'm pretty sure they did not have.
Yep, the first 4 picks are go by draw.
Well, I think the Chicago's tanking.
I absolutely agree.
I agree, and even if it's not true, I love the fact that we can just accuse them of it.
I mean, they're 2-8 in their last. Oh, that's Dallas. They're still 2-8 in their last 10 games, and Reese has not played for 5.
Chicago's horrible.
Yeah, I mean, it's bad. I have tickets to the Sky Fever game because I bought them at the beginning of the season thinking it was going to be a hot ticket, and I'm still going to go and enjoy the game, but I don't. You
can get in the door for $8, everybody.
Well, the reason I bought that one in September, it's on my birthday, and I was going to go regardless of who they were playing.
Yeah, we're definitely not going to see, I don't think, either one of them on Saturday, but the game that you are going to on
September
5th, who knows? You might see both of them, and it might be a hot ticket.
It's whatever. Just real quick before we get to other stuff, as far as team in WNBA team news, I don't know if you guys heard that the Connecticut Sun are trying to sell to a Boston owners group in Boston, and the WNBA is kind of blocking it Have you guys heard that about that at all?
Oh, that's
I
surprising.
have, and whoever the second buyer is committed to keeping them in Connecticut. And I think that's, from what I understand, the reasoning the WNBA is, which I don't understand. I don't know why you wouldn't want a team in Boston if you're the WNBA, but
Well, it's the most WNBA thing of all time. Like the reasoning behind it is so stupid to me, but it very much is par for the course for the way the WNBA manages things.
But they just chose cities that failed over Knoxville or Nashville because it's not connected to a team.
Yeah, do you want me to tell you what the reason they said was? The reason WNBA said they may not approve it is because other teams put in bids for expansions. Boston did not. Therefore, they would rather that they would not let a team go to Boston before those other cities. If WNBA just mismanages stuff because they're worried about people's feelings as opposed to good business. Like that, if you want me to break it down the way I feel, but that's truly how I think they do things. Like, well,
I think you're 100% right. I mean, and I understand Connecticut's a hotbed for women's basketball. It always has been. It's, the most elite college program of the last, 30 years is Connecticut, but you have a chance to break into one of the biggest media markets in the country.
The most
I don't
important
get it.
NBA market.
I don't get it.
well, and if you can use Boston Garden or TD Ameritrade Garden or whatever we're calling it, like you've got a big facility that you can use over. It's just silly because Mohegan Sun is just a glorified high school gym. I just think the WNBA corporate mismanages so many things because of just silly reasons, and just we'll leave it at that.
I agree with John. I mean, I think it's one reason that the league just does not. They keep kicking themselves in the foot. They don't make money. I mean, they still haven't even really broken even yet, and it's because of things like this. It's because of some of the other stuff that they do. They're not very business oriented. Let's just put it this way. I don't think they run their league like a business, and that's not good per se. I just think they, like you said, they let feelings, they let other things in, and they don't sit there and look at it as a business.
That's funny. I do think there's one point to extract from this before we get off the subject, though, that if a team is going from however it was sold for like however many million when they bought it to Boston's offering like 300 something million for when it was like 50 million 3 years ago, that does bode well for the players deserving more pay. If the value of the teams has gone up that much more, like I understand the arguments of they're not making money and all that, but if the value of the team's gone up that much, it wouldn't go up that much if it weren't for the players. So the players do deserve more.
I don't think anyone disagrees with that. What we disagree with,
Well, no, I
everybody
agree.
owes them more.
I agree that with that 100%. I'm just making that point for those people that want to argue against paying the women basketball players.
They're going to have to be paid more. They've brought in more money the last year by 10 times what they were making before.
And I think that's one of the reasons I'm surprised that they didn't take the ownership, but they did not put a team in Nashville, Tennessee with that ownership group, because from some of the preliminary things I saw, the number, buying in, I mean, they weren't, I mean, they did not balk at the price tag.
Yeah, it's disappointing. Nashville and Boston makes way more sense than retreads. Right, Mike, you are disappointed in WNBA fans and their performance.
Listen, I know I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but to quote the great basketball mind, Norman Dale, we got to go back to something here. And if a guy gets naked and runs out in the snow and barks at the moon, you just kind of can ignore that. But when it happens in your living room, you kind of got to address it. And last night, the Green Dildo Bandit has returned, and it is now impacting the Fever themselves.
And we will not stand for it.
Sophie could have been injured.
That's right.
And I will not stand for Sophie Cunningham being in danger. But this has become... It was hilarious. It was funny the first time.
It was.
The second time, okay, there's a copycat. Now they're getting more wagers off dildo futures and online wagering than the actual outcome of WNBA games. How do you combat this? This is stupid. And it's such a WNBA story because
And Mike, the lack of creativity from the fans has got to be disappointing to you.
absolutely. Pick a different color at least.
Did like the way that Kelsey Plum just took her foot and kicked it. Now, what I would have liked is just Sophie Cunningham would have taken her heel and squished on it, and then Plum would have kicked it out. Because because you can't tell me, especially for the guy that threw that out there, that vicariously he just did not. It did hurt just a little bit. If they would have done that, I mean, that's but it does. There's no creativity. I don't find it funny. The first time, but you're right. There's no creativity. It's the same. It's just terrible. But how do they keep getting this in? Don't these arenas have clear back policies?
Greg, you seem to be the expert on the actual device itself. The last time we discussed this, but I'm guessing metal detectors aren't going to pick it up. I don't know, but yeah, I've read some. I think some arenas are now going to not allow you to bring bags in, but I don't know that that's going to change anything. It's stupid.
It is stupid.
It was funny. I don't even think the actual first event was funny. It was the reaction of the announcers and everything that didn't quite know how to address it. But
and
now,
the towel and yes.
Right, the hazmat crew that came out to clean it up and everything. But this is just this league, it's just weird. Like, the stuff that happens in this league is just so bizarre. And here we are now again talking about a green phalanx that's thrown out on the court. And it kind of overshadowed the outcome of what was a pretty entertaining game. And I don't know.
And as we proved the first 20 minutes of this podcast, there's lots to talk about in the WNBA. And here we are talking about this because, once again, they have no sense of humor.
And listen, I don't want to quote a person who's rather toxic, but Clay Travis has been contacted by anonymous people saying it's going to happen again tonight somewhere. And if it does,
there's only one game tonight.
Well, okay, there you go.
It's a Valkyries game. And the first two were Valkyries games.
Well, was it you, John, that mentioned that it might be tied to some crypto or something?
That was a story I saw early on because, there is a crypto with a similar name. So if you're just if you're Googling what the object was, you end up with that popping up.
So another conspiracy. We're full of them tonight.
Well, it's just one of those things. Here's what I think. Honestly, I think the first couple were maybe part of an orchestrated thing or even just, whatever. Then it became a copycat because like it or not, there are going to be people that hate the WNBA just because they hate the WNBA. They haven't paid attention to it. So they're going to, to them, it's more fun to try and mock it by doing something stupid like this. So I think that's what the more recent ones have been. It's kind of like the Streisand effect. At this point, we've drawn so much, not we, but people have drawn so much attention to it now that it's become a bigger thing than it had to be in the first place. If they just never show the first one on the screen at all.
Mike Hutsell, so anyone who throws one on the court again is a giant douche or a turd sandwich?
They're both.
Well, they did arrest somebody for the Atlanta one.
Yeah, did you see? His name is Delbert. I'm pretty sure, when you name your kid... When you name your kid Delbert, it's like naming him Jeeves. He's going to be a butler. You name your kid Delbert, he's going to throw a dildo at a WNBA game.
It was predestined.
I hate to typecast, but Delbert the dildo tosser is going to be a popular Halloween costume this year.
I just hope they catch enough of these people and do enough punishment and make the punishment known. That's the only way to stop it at this point. You gotta have cameras set up watching the crowd, and as soon as you see it, figure out who did it, and then make it known that they are punished, and then we move on from this. Hopefully, it goes back to when in Major League Baseball when there were streakers, they would just not show the streakers on the camera, and they wouldn't draw attention. They would just say, there's a pause for the game for whatever reason. and only the
You
people
can't
that were
do
there
that
would know.
anymore. You can't do that with this situation. Everyone has a camera.
Hey, everybody's
With
got a
social
cell phone
media,
with a
that's
camera.
Not happening. So it is what it is, and let's hope that it ends, but we'll see. Thanks, everybody.
hopefully we don't have to talk about it on the next time we convene.
Yeah, seriously, let's get back to talking about basketball. Thank you so much to John Robertson and Michelle Garmon and our special guest, Mike Hutsell. Love having him on board. And thank you so much for listening. Please do us a huge favor and share this podcast with a Fever fan in your life and help us spread the word that the Central Indiana Sports Report is here and talking about Central Indiana sports every single day. Well, and also, the Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. And I love Susie.